and I made him watch.
But yeah, there are people that listen to the podcast that love your dyslexia and they love your voice.
Well, I don't love my dyslexia. um, who's told you these things?
People that, are fans.
Fans.
Yeah.
That's a word.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I mean, some people have become so committed to the podcast they consider themselves our friends.
Aw, that's sweet.
Yep.
So hello and welcome to And I Made Him Watch, the podcast where I subject my husband to the weirdest, wildest, and most wonderful bad movies I can find. I'm your host, Danny Page, and sitting across from me, forever and always, still pretending to enjoy this, is my husband and filmmaker, Troy Allen. So, on a scale of 1 to why did I marry you, how excited are you for today's pick?
I'm pretty excited.
I thought you would like this one.
It was a good film,
Yeah.
But first and foremost, welcome back everybody to And I Made Him Watch.
Yep.
This episode is definitely one of the better ones I think that we're gonna have, because I truly enjoyed the film.
Okay.
So
I'm super excited to talk about today's episode. The movie is Night of the Creeps. It's one of those campy, slightly oversexed and comedic zombie movies. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen this movie. It's another one of my favorites, and hopefully, obviously, you like it as well. But this was one of the movies I might have illegally streamed at one point for other people, along with like Alice and stuff. So this movie goes back, almost 20 years of my life.
yeah,
Because I've been watching this movie for a while.
this movie is definitely one of the greater campy B horror films from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely got tons of good one-liners, a very quotable movie.
Yes.
Great cinematography, just a really great movie all around.
It's a good comfort movie.
Yeah.
It's become a comfort movie for me.
I would put this up there with Killer Clowns.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's up there. It's one of those really good B movies. It doesn't go too crazy. It has really good special effects. The story is a little wonky, but the story's not pushed in a direction where it makes it less believable.
Yeah, it's not over the top.
No, it's over the top. It's campy, but it's a good over the top. It's a good.
It's like a mixture between Killer Clowns, Critters, and Night of the Creeps.
Night of the Creeps, yes. You ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right. We begin with the title card with this eerie accompaniment of music as the opening credits roll past. Once the title is complete, we fade into a spaceship where this naked, hairless, short humanoid creature is fleeing two more of these ugly, hairless aliens. They're chasing the first one into an escape pod. The first alien puts a vial of liquid into the escape pod, and then it zooms into space as Sorority Row 1956 rolls across the screen. And the song Smoke Gets in Your Eye by the Platters play.
These alien things, imagine a bunch of naked toddlers chasing each other around.
Like melty faces.
But with melty faces.
Their heads are too big. They don't have necks.
No.
They're very rubbery looking, obviously. And they're naked. They're this very naked mole rats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Naked mole rats without teeth.
Unfortunately, we don't see them again after this.
Nope. That was it.
I would have brought them back, at least towards the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
That would have made sense.
But yeah, it definitely has that Critters vibe. I can't remember which one came out first now. What year?
Yeah, I don't know, but
I would have to look back.
Yeah, it definitely, having seen Critters, it definitely brings that to mind while watching this.
In a gritty black and white scene, we view the lives of students of Sorority Row. Girls talking, guys talking to girls talking about tests and parties. It's very, very 50s. Pam's date, Johnny, pulls up to her sorority house as the radio announces a escaped mental patient has been seen in the area. This is kind of important info, but he just turns the radio off, like, no mind. Inside the house, we overhear Pam's roommate on the phone as she mentions Pam's breakup with Ray, a police officer. The couple end up at, like, a lover's lookout, or I think Lover's Point. It's the type of place, and they're admiring the stars, and Pam asks which one is the brightest. And then they're interrupted by Pam's ex, Ray, doing his job as a police officer, telling the kids not to be, like, doing the things in the car, you know what I mean? Which leads to this awkward moment and an awkward line as Johnny asks about Ray, and she's just like, it's just someone from my past. And that was a little cringe. It was a little cringy.
Yeah, the writing is a little sus right there for sure.
Yeah.
But I really liked the black and white aesthetic of the 50s, and then the whole fucking turn the radio off after the escaped mental patient, he's just like, yeah, fuck that, man.
No one really, like, takes caution, I guess, when things like that happen.
Well, no.
Because they don't think anything's going to happen to them.
Yeah, I mean, if people were actually cautious about things, we wouldn't even have horror movies.
True.
True.
Back to the sky, and Pam questions which one is the brightest. And then we see one of the stars begin to glow brighter in the sky. This grabs the attention over everyone. Everyone at the lookout is like, oh God, oh. And the star zooms overhead and crashes. Johnny then says something like, I vote for that one, and puts the car in gear and chases after the star. Pam isn't a fan of going after the star, but Johnny's being just ignorant of her worries and parks the car. He leaves Pam in the car by herself as he ventures into the dark woods looking for the fallen star. While in the car by herself, another radio announcement about the escaped mental patient catches Pam's attention. The escapee has begun axe murdering people around the town and is heading towards Route 66 towards the college. And guess what route Pam happens to be on in the middle of the night? Alone.
Dun dun.
Now you can talk about the star.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Pam's about to be the newest victim on, like, a Law and Order SVU episode.
Okay.
Yeah, and also, so the spaceship, when it flies over, tell me that's not straight from Killer Clowns.
It's similar. It does. And there's a reason for this, and I'll get into it.
Okay.
We'll get into it.
Okay.
Why everything's so similar.
It's just something I picked up on, I mean, it's
oh yeah, it's got a lot of critters. It's got killer clowns. You weren't wrong.
Yeah.
You weren't wrong about that at all.
But it is creepy. Like, I really loved how they did the shots of Pam's hearing the radio and talking about the escapee and stuff, and then she sees the Route 66, and there's a sign that's kind of blacked out. We can't really tell what's on it, and she turns the headlights on, and then it shows the whole university thing. So I really loved how they did the reveal of that.
Oh yeah, it's good. It was intense. And the shots back and forth from, like, Pam to Johnny and you can hear Pam in the background when we go back to Johnny every now and then. And I'm like, that asshole.
Yeah.
That asshole. But yeah, Pam looks up and stares at the Route 66 sign, and then weakly calls out to Johnny again, who is still wandering around in the woods, and comes across a smoking crash site. Back at the car, Pam tries to lure Johnny back to the car with an offering to fondle her breasts. Isn't that nice? As she offers this, we see a pair of legs step from the side and into the shot. The legs are dressed what looks like to be house slippers and PJs. And then the head of a bloody axe swings down.
Yeah, you first see the PJs and house slippers, and you're like, maybe it's just somebody's grandpa that, went out for a late night walk. But then you see the bloody axe, and you're like, no, he's the escape mental patient.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Johnny finds a vial the alien has sent in the escape pod as the axe wielder slowly walks closer to Pam. Johnny reaches towards the vial, which then breaks and sends a slug-like creature into his mouth. Pam continues to call out to Johnny, as the axe wielder moves towards the back of Pam's head. And then we time jump to Pledge Week 1986. So we cut from this gritty, dark 1950s style movie to like this vibrant, lively 1986.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great.
Yeah. I did miss my my little one-liner that I thought was kind of funny when she offers Johnny to let him fondle her breasts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, man, you drive a hard bargain. But fucking the axe swing, and then right before he makes contact, they cut to black, which I thought was really fucking good.
Oh yeah, that suspense was
dude.
nicely added. Very good shot. Very good shot.
And we see later on what happened, but yeah, that was so good. And then, like you said, the vibrant colors and stuff of 1986 was just really well done.
We view the rowdy front lawn of a frat house. There's toilet paper in the trees. Students are drinking, 80s college stuff. We overhear a conversation between Chris and his BFF JC, he's complaining about their social life and his lack of dating and sex stuff. It's the 80s, they're teenage boys or early 20s, whatever. But anyway, I just want to note that JC is handy-capable and requires the assistance of 2 crutches to walk. That's important about his character. As JC tries to cheer Chris up, Chris spots his crush, or his new crush, Cynthia, in front of one of the frat houses talking to a group of girls. He kind of loses focus of what JC is saying as he stares at this girl, which is a little creepy.
Yeah, kind of, I don't know. He was definitely coming across like a little stalkerish.
A little intense all of a sudden, because this is the first time he's seen this girl.
Yeah.
Chris then asks JC who the girl is, and JC cracks a joke that she's the Morton Salt girl. Love that. JC continues to call Cynthia over, getting a reaction from the group. Chris kind of freezes on the spot as the group goes into the frat house, and he really let his shot go. He just lost his shot. He just completely frozen.
Yeah. I think Chris says to JC something about remind me to kill you sometime.
Mm-hmm.
And I initially I was like, ooh, is that subtle foreshadowing? I don't know. But
inside the frat house, it's raging. Isn't that what they used to call it? Like ragers or raging? I don't know if that's 80s or 90s.
Sure.
Anyway, Chris and CJ watch from the sideline as they watch Cynthia dancing with a little group. And then they watch as 2 jocks interrupt the dancing and approach Cynthia. JC, being the fucking wingman of the decade, distracts Steve, the jock that was messing with Cynthia, with a fake phone call. JC then talks his man up, but turns out that Cindy, she introduces herself as Cindy, has a boyfriend. Big bummer.
This guy, Steve.
He's the unibrow.
The fucking unibrow on this guy, man. And he's wearing one of these jerseys. Like, if you went to high school in the United States, typically, like, in, like, your PE class or gym or whatever, sometimes they'd make you split up into teams, and you'd have to put these, like, jerseys on and stuff. That's what it reminded me of, because they're, like, these cheesy, like, they're not real well, they're jerseys, but they're not, like,
was it
professional
cropped too?
I think sometimes they were cropped, but...
I mean, Steve's.
Oh, Steve's?
I think his was.
I'm pretty sure his was cropped a little bit.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was an actual jersey or if he was, like, just wearing it.
Men should wear more crop tops, in my opinion. JC relays a message that he doesn't know if Cindy has a boyfriend when Chris asks. Straight up lying to his boy, but also kind of beefing him up. Chris then gets the great idea of joining the beta frat. What a bunch of betas.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Anyway, the 2 end up in the basement of the frat house with a bunch of the frat bros. Brad, the leader of the frat bros, tells them that they must provide some entertainment to get into the frat. On the bright side, they don't have to have sex with a farm animal. That's always a good thing. Yeah, that's always a good thing. Unknown to the boys, the frat bros have no intention of letting them into the frat. Also turns out Brad is Cindy's boyfriend.
So, the Beta Brad guy reminds me of like a live action version of Zap Brannigan from Futurama. Like
Yes.
spitting image,
Yes. Oh my
bro.
God, you're so right. He's got that very bleach blonde hair.
Yeah.
He thinks he's the shit.
And
He's
dude,
not
it's
listening to people.
his hair is styled to perfection.
It's combed over.
Dude,
Got some volume.
not a stray hair on that man's
Nope.
head.
Nope. Down in the basement of the medical building on the campus, one of the lab techs has forgotten the code to a door. As he is distracted with the phone call to get the code, Chris and JC make the opportunity to sneak in. As they walk down a hallway, they pass the door the lab tech was trying to open, and JC casually just presses 0 and the door slides open. They go into the room and discover a frozen body, and it's Pam's date from 1956. It's Johnny!
Yeah, let's not pay attention to the fact that they've committed a felony. You know, I mean, it's breaking and entering. You know, they're not supposed to be there. But the whole fucking, them finding this body is just, I don't know. To me, it was really good writing, but I don't know. Like, obviously, somebody from back then knew the special circumstances of Johnny's death.
Something. It's never explained how they found Johnny or why Johnny's there.
Right.
He's just been frozen for, I think it was 27 years.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, because it was 1956 and 1950.
Well, no, I'm pretty sure it was 59 in the movie.
Is it? Hold on. Let's see here. It might be 59. No, 1956.
Oh, okay.
And then it cuts to
86.
Huh. So it should have been like 30 years, but it might have been, I don't know. It says 20 at some point. I think someone says 27 years in the movie, and that's where I'm getting 27 years from.
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry. JC begins to question the circumstances around the body, but Chris is like, nah, he is on that mission. By the way, for them to join the betas, they've got to find a cadaver and dump it on the rival frat's lawn. JC then finds the cryogenic status system and then starts just flipping switches. He literally just starts like just moving things and pressing buttons and stuff.
I mean, the special effects are so good because he flips some switches and a bunch of lights come on. And meanwhile, you've got Johnny's corpse in this capsule. Like, he almost looks like he's in a fucking Bacta tank from Star Wars. And they refer to him as the Corpsicle. And JC finds a button.
Yep. As JC releases the cryogenic chamber, the lab tech upstairs finishes a phone call and heads towards the boys. The guys are trying to move the body when suddenly the body grabs Chris. They then leave the room screaming and the poor lab tech to discover the body on the floor. He bends down to study the body, and as he does, the slug jumps from the cadaver's body into the lab tech. The boys make it back to the dorm room. Chris is worried about what to do, and JC just wants to make jokes.
I mean, I cannot blame him. If that body had grabbed me, I'd have noped out of there so fast,
for
bro.
real? No, there's no way. And no universe, no parallel line in my life or in whatever plane of existence would I be like, oh, a dead body? A cadaver just grabbed me? That seems interesting. Let's stay here and check it out.
I mean, to be fair, I would have been down there in the first place. Like, you want me to do what? With a dead body? Nope. I'm going to be at the house.
I mean...
You would, wouldn't you?
JC has this amazing monologue about how much of a good friend he is, and he complains about Chris's attitude and not recognizing how good of a friend he is. And they just kind of just go, fuck you too, and are friends again.
Yeah, as good friends do.
Yes, of course. We are then introduced to a man on a beach sipping from a coconut. As he watches the waves of the ocean, Pam rises out of the ocean and just appears to him. Then we cut to her being axed to death by the escapee from before. Turns out this is Ray, and he's having a dream about when Pam was murdered. As he yells, "Freeze!" the axe murderer turns around and reveals a corpse-like face, and Ray wakes up. His phone rings, and he answers it with the iconic "Thrill Me" line, which the character is known for. He also introduces himself as Bozo the Clown. On the phone, the police officer lets Ray know that an experimental lab has been broken into. So, Ray Cameron has this thing where if someone asks him like a stupid question or if he is who he is, he just comes up with a popular popular icon, from the time period. So that is a thing.
Cameron reminds me so much of me.
You?
Yeah, he really does. 'Cause I'm just so sarcastic all the time. It's like second nature. I don't know.
I guess. When he arrives at the lab, he tells the police officer that when he asks the police officer, like, "Oh, Detective Cameron?" It's like, "No, Bullwinkle Moose," before flashing his badge.
I swear to God, man, Cameron made this fucking movie. It would not have been as good without Cameron. And dude, and he's got some really good one-liners still left in him. And oh man, his one-liners are gold.
There's a bunch of cop stuff and information we, the audience, have been given, and Ray is caught up to speed on what the cops think happened. The lab tech's body is there, but the other body, the cadaver, is gone. Ray has been told that there are two bodies and starts questioning where the other one is, and no one really cares, blaming it on a dispatch problem.
Mm-hmm.
Ray delivers the line, corpses that have been dead for 27 years do not just get up and go for a walk by themselves. Cut to the corpse walking down the street by itself.
Yep.
As the one couple leaves, Brad and Cindy pull up to her sorority house, and he apologizes for cutting the night short and just speeds off. He's such a dick. I don't know what people saw in, like, girl, what did you see in him? He is mean.
Well, he's gonna get something. Mm.
As she enters the house, one of her housemates asks Cindy if she can store brains for their bio class in the house, and they decide the basement would be the best place. We see some of the other girls and their boyfriends in the house. One of the housemates sets up herself in an empty room and begins to study. All the while, the bare feet of a corpse walks across the grass.
Dun dun.
Dun dun. As the girl studies, she starts to hear something tapping at the door. She approaches it and opens the door, and suddenly a black cat leaps into her arms. The cat's name was Gordon. Gordon.
Yeah.
We see the feet of the corpse walking around the house and to a fire escape under an open window. Inside, Cindy is getting ready for bed and hears something tapping against her tapping against her window, much like Johnny had done to Pam when he was alive. Cindy checks both her windows at first. It seems like nothing's there, but then Johnny's corpse pops up, offering her a flower. His forehead bursts open, and these slugs fall out, and then they skitter away into the night.
Yeah, they look exactly like little slugs.
Yeah, they're just these big slugs.
Like, you could have probably just surrounded your house in a line of salt and been okay.
I don't know. They're alien slugs, so I don't know if that would work.
I don't know, man. Which is kind of funny because earlier in the movie, you remember, JC said she's the Morton Salt girl. So,
nice catch.
I'm just saying.
Nice catch. I like that. I like that a lot. The Popo and Detective Cameron show up to the sorority house and recover Johnny's corpse. Around the back of the house, Detective Cameron discovers the house mother's cottage and has a brief flashback of a body being buried.
I love the lighting in this shot because he's standing back there looking at this cottage, and it's like the blue light from the moon is being cast on one side of his face, and on this side it's kind of more warm. On his right side is warm, but on his left side it's kind of blue and moon cast. So
I think it's kind of lingering between those two worlds of his past and his present.
Yeah.
Symbolic.
I can see that.
Yeah. The next day, the Beta frat bros confront Chris and JC and complaining that they dropped the body in the wrong house. JC tells everyone that it was Brad's idea, and then they chickened out before they could even get the body. Brad then trips JC to Cindy's horror, and she then flips him off and helps Chris and JC. Before they can get the chance to talk, Cindy, the cops show up and take Chris and JC for questioning. Turns out the night janitor saw them running from the lab. Detective Cameron starts to put the pieces together and thinks that it was a pledge prank. Man's pretty good at his job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's no getting around Detective Cameron.
No, he's pretty good at his job. He's doing a pretty good job. JC tries to talk his way out of the whole thing, but Chris is automatically like, "We did it." Like, no hesitating. Like, he just confessed right there. No lawyer. No nothing. Just like, "We did it. That was us." Chris explains the whole thing to Detective Cameron and then even points out that the night janitor would have seen them with the body if they had taken the body. Down at the morgue, the lab tech's body comes to life and literally just walks out, even passing someone who was just like, "See you tomorrow." The lab tech then ends back at the experimental lab and jumps out at the night janitor.
So JC has a really funny line during the interrogation scene, and he's like, "I'd rather have my brain invaded by creatures from space than pledge a fraternity."
Yep.
And I was like, dude,
yep,
that's a bit on the nose, but I dig
topical.
it. I love it.
Topical.
Man.
The way it's delivered is good. It's not too campy. It's not too corny when he does it.
No,
so, yeah.
He's just in this moment. He's just being a smartass.
Of course, it's JC. JC. Back at Cindy's sorority house, Brad calls her up and tries to talk her up, but Cindy's like, "No thanks, dude." But Brad gets defensive and lashes out to her, and Cindy hangs up on him. So things aren't great between the two lovebirds. We also overhear that something has happened to the cat. Poor Gordon. And then we see the same girl from earlier. Her name is Karen, the girl with the cat from before, studying and hearing the familiar tapping sounds at the door. Thinking it's the cat, Karen goes over and opens the door, and the cat jumps into her arms. When she turns the cat around, we can see that its face is half eaten, and there is a worm in one of the eye sockets. That shit was gross.
Yeah, poor Gordon.
Poor Gordon.
I felt like out of all the deaths in this movie, Gordon's hit the hardest.
Yeah. Yeah, Gordon was a good boy.
Like, even another animal that dies later on.
Oh, yeah.
I could care less.
Okay.
Gordon, poor Gordon.
Back at Detective Cameron's place, he's looking at old crime scene photos of Pam's murder. We also get a close-up of a yearbook with Ray and Pam's photo together. He was a football player and she was a cheerleader. Must have been true love.
Mm-hmm.
The body of the lab tech has been found. Its head cracked open. The viewers get the glimpse of some slugs fleeing the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And then back at the boys' dorm, JC is being his obnoxious self as they try to study. Then Cindy shows up out of the blue, having looked them up in the student directory, which is kind of crazy thing to think about, that you could just look someone up and find where they're living on campus.
Yeah.
That is...
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Cindy asks if the boys want to go for a walk and tells them about the cat dying, or the unalive cat. She tries to convince them that something is up and brings up Johnny's body at her window.
Yeah, well, this scene is just kind of, run-of-the-mill
Info dump. It's where the characters are catching up with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I do like the glimpse into Cameron's past. Obviously, we got to see a little bit of Pam in the beginning, but we only caught like a fleeting glimpse of Ray. So, I like being able to catch up with that.
Yeah. JC makes an excuse to leave Cindy and Chris alone. Cindy confesses to Chris. She thinks it was a zombie and explains her theory, even mentioning brain-eating slugs. I love this trope of zombie movie gender revolves being switched up a little bit. In most zombie movies, it's normally a male lead, which this one is too, but it's usually the male character that is having the realization of what's going on first. I also love the role of the brain alien slugs. What's better way to create zombies?
Right, right. I mean, in a lot of zombie movies, like um, even the original, like Night of the Living Dead,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really recall what caused the zombies in the first place.
In the original one, I don't think it's really explained. It's more of the whole once there's no room left in hell, the dead will walk
Walk the
among.
earth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that type of thing. I
Okay.
think they at one point, if I remember correctly, it's been a really long time since I've seen the original, black and white. I think at one point when they're listening to the radio, like there is a sermon and it says something along the lines of that.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right.
Um. So Chris offers to take Cindy home. In the bathroom, JC is scribbling something on the walls and hears someone enter. He pauses, but then continues, but then stops again at the sound of something cracking and things slithering around. He takes a peek and sees the night janitor with his head exploded on the ground. He freaks out and closes the stall door, dropping his matches. He tries to receive the matches, but one of the slugs rushes by and nips his finger. Then finally, grabbing the matches, he lights the book on fire and waits for the slug to rush by. It catches on fire and melts. Just when he seems relieved, another one shoots up his pants leg and causes him to fall out of the stall. JC then crawls across the restroom floor as all the slugs slide around the floor around him.
Poor JC, man.
Yeah,
He didn't
poor
deserve that.
JC.
I mean, I would have rather taken one to the face than catch a creepy crawly in my pants. Like, to hell with that. Mm-mm.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I get that. Because there's other ways to get in your body,
Yeah,
and
dude.
that's...
Mm-mm.
Ugh.
Uh-uh.
Back at the sorority house, Chris drops Cindy off, and she confesses she might be going a little crazy. She then invites Chris to take her to the formal, which is happening the next night. Chris questions her relationship with Brad, and she's just like, forget that guy. Don't worry about that. As Chris is leaving, he comes face to face with Detective Cameron. Chris then ends up with Detective Cameron at his house, and they exchange old sweetheart stories, and Detective Cameron telling Chris the story of Pam and Johnny. He then confesses that he was the one that found the axe murderer. He tracked him down and he shot him in the chest with a shotgun. He wrapped the body in a plastic bag and then buried him in a vacant lot. The vacant lot, which is the house mother's cottage of Cindy's sorority. It was built on. Chris asked if there was a point to the story.
I love how Cameron's just, like, all nonchalantly just confessing to murder. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's almost like he's telling Chris this information knowing that if Chris tells anybody else, they're not going to believe him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but to be fair, even in the 50s, like after Pam's murder and everything, they never found him.
Mm-mm.
Until Cameron found him, obviously.
Right. Speaking of the house mother, we go into the house, we view the house mother's cottage, and she's dozing off in front of the TV, but is awoken by several loud bangs. The floorboards to the cottage then begin to break apart, and then a dehydrated 27-year-old corpse of an axe murderer rises up, then cuts the house mother's face off. Why did he bury him with the axe?
I don't know.
Why
I
did you
don't
bury
know.
him with the axe, Cameron?
I'm more concerned about, okay, say you're like in your 70s, okay? We'll say the house mother was in her 70s. Okay, does that feel like an accurate statement? I mean, I feel like it is.
Yeah, 60s, 70s.
Okay.
Probably more, well, a house mother, I would imagine you would still have to be kind of young. So I would say probably late 50s, 60s.
Okay.
She looked old.
She's sitting here
Mm-hmm.
watching a game show or something like
No, it's
that?
a movie. It's Plan 9 from
Oh,
Outer Space
that's right.
or
That's right.
yeah.
Yeah. And with their little dog there,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden, a couple loud thumps come from the floor, and she just watches the floor being broken apart, and this fucking skeletal corpse, this reanimated corpse, climb up out of the ground. She just sits there and
Well,
watches.
she was stunned. I would be stunned.
Okay, okay, I get it, but at the same time, like, it's got an axe. And you got murdered because of it, because you just wanted to sit there and watch. Like you, I would say you deserved it. You got what you was getting.
Troy said, "Fuck the old lady."
Dumbass. Jesus, get the fuck up, bro.
Detective Cameron gets the call about the house mother. He rushes over and tells the cops to check the neighborhood. The cops start to search the area and they can't find anything. And as a cruiser is giving up search, the driver spots something and stops the car. The axe murderer then swings at the passenger through the open window, but the driver speeds away just in time, the axe grinding against the truck of the car. They radio it in and that they have found the guy, and Cameron says, "Get my 12 gauge out of my car now." So the cops then rush to the location to the zombified axe murderer. Detective Cameron approaches the zombie, and as it turns, the whole police force, everyone there shoots a zombie, and nothing happens, obviously. And then Cameron pops his head off. A dozen or so slugs fly out and skitter away into the night.
So I find what was creepiest about that whole thing was when they all gather around the zombie and they're holding it at gunpoint and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and the zombie turns, and I want to say it's when the zombie spots Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
You can see its face, and it smiles. There's like a slight grin.
I think he smiles because he's been shot and he's still alive.
Could be. And then Cameron shoots him in the head.
Mm-hmm. Then Cameron shoots him in the head.
Yeah, yeah. But, dude, if you show me a fucking reanimated corpse smiling at me,
That's creepy.
fuck you, bro.
It's creepy.
At that point, I'm just gonna fucking nope.
Mm-hmm. That's understandable, though.
I think so.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like that's the normal response. Anything else is kind of absurd.
The next morning, Chris can't find CJ. Turns out he never returned home last night. Everyone around campus is getting ready for the big formal that night as the slugs slither around as well, just all over the campus. At his dorm, Chris is getting ready and notices a tape player with a note that says, "Listen," next to it. And when he plays the tape, it's JC telling Chris what happened to him and that he's infected with a slug. He even tells him how to kill the slugs with fire and that he locked himself in the furnace room. Iconic moment.
Dude, that scene fucked me up, dude. Cause
It's so sad.
even in this tape, JC tells Chris that he's at that point he doesn't even have a pulse anymore. Like he doesn't have a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
That he is dead, and he's telling Chris, how to defeat the slugs and everything. And then he tells him that he went to the furnace room and all that. But yeah, man, that's like if I were Chris, dude, I don't know, man. That would have fucked me up.
Oh, yeah. Well, it did. It fucked him up.
It did, yeah.
Chris then, being a dumbass but a great friend, rushes to the furnace room to find JC. He finds JC's body, but all the slugs that had escaped his head has been melted by the heat of the furnace. Meanwhile, Brad's outside Cindy's sorority house drunk and just sees one of the slugs. The house mother's dog comes up to Brad and the slug flies into his mouth. Cameron's at his place, I guess, celebrating. Well, he was trying to kill himself by filling his apartment with gas and playing with a lighter. But Chris shows up.
Cameron's just done. He's so over this whole thing.
Well, I think having to kill the murderer of your loved one or your ex-lover twice, it's a little traumatic.
Oh yeah.
Like, imagine the paperwork for that shit.
I mean, I guess you could say like,
Imagine how, like, people question, like, how did that axe murderer's body get under that
yeah,
floorboard?
what
Like,
was
what
it doing down
happened?
there, huh?
Imagine all the questions and
Uh,
everything, the investigation. So yeah, I mean, I don't blame Cameron because
yeah.
he's taped the door up. Like, if you watch this movie for the very first time and you're seeing Cameron on his couch playing with the lighter, he's drinking and all this stuff, and then he kind of ignores the first like pounding knocks that Chris is, at his door. But finally, after a few more knocks and stuff, he gets up and there's duct tape around the door, and
Yeah.
he has to pull it off to open the door. And so when you first watch this movie, you're probably gonna be like, what is this?
I didn't realize it.
I know.
Because I saw him like turn the knobs off on the stove. I saw him undo the duct tape and stuff, but it didn't register what he was doing,
Mm.
at the time. But yeah, Cameron. I feel like Cameron's character needs to be studied just because, like, even the way he dresses himself, he's like one of these like noir fucking L.A.
Yeah.
detectives,
Mm-hmm.
And he even drive like the car he drives is from the 50s or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's just kind of interesting.
Yeah, he's a very interesting character.
Yeah.
So Chris tells Detective Cameron what happened. He tells him about the slug getting into your head, that they lay eggs and incubate while you walk around. Detective Cameron grabs his shotty, and then he turns the gas off of the stove. The frat party bus that all the frat bros were on crashes with the zombie dog that sits in the middle of the road. The driver like swerves not to hit the dog, and what a fucking dumbass, and just kills everybody. Cameron and Chris visit the police armory and request a flamethrower. But when Cameron doesn't have the paperwork, he loads his shotty and points it at the other officer in the armory. Back at the crash site, which appears to be a pretty bad, the zombie dog climbs into the wreck with the dead frat bros. An undead Brad then shows up at the sorority house, and Cindy is called down. And the slugs have taken over the frat bro's body, and the group of frat zombies then begin to wander down the street towards the sorority house.
Yeah, yeah. I mean the bus crash was kind of fucked up. Like there was a lot of
Yeah.
mangled.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty
Yeah.
gross. Cindy and Zombie Brad sit on the steps of the sorority, and she gently breaks up with Brad. In the background, his mouth falls open, and he releases a few slugs from his mouth. And Chris and Cameron show up, and Chris uses the flamethrower to kill Brad before the slugs can get to Cindy. Cameron rushes into the sorority while Chris comforts Cindy by giving her a shotgun. Isn't that nice? That's so nice.
Yeah.
The frat bros begin to show up, and you get one of the best lines and the tagline from the movie. I've got good news and bad news, girls. The good news is your dates are here.
What's the bad news?
They're dead.
Oh man. And of course it's Cameron that says this, and dude, I gotta say, like, I'll say it again. Cameron made this movie.
Yep. Outside, Chris has given Cindy the flamethrower, and he has a shotgun, but Cindy seems to have frozen on the spot. But as Chris yells, now, she gets into it and starts to fire away. Inside, Cameron defends the other sorority sisters as the frat bros crash through the glass doors.
Fire away.
Cameron is surprised by an infected Karen and falls to the ground struggling for his gun. He then happens to look up and sees Pam's picture, which gives him the strength to blow Karen's face off.
Yep. Poor Karen. I mean,
she was a zombie.
Yeah, but she also, like, she had to see dead Gordon.
Yeah, poor Gordon.
Yeah.
Poor Gordon. Back outside, Chris and Cindy fiddle and panic as the flamethrower jams. The two get trapped in a shed outside as more zombies begin to show up. The zombies begin to break through the shed, but Cindy is able to save them with the flamethrower again. She's then yoinked through the wall by a zombie, and Chris uses the lawnmower to mow down the zombie as Cindy escapes. Back inside, Cameron has done his own mowing down, as he has killed all the zombies inside the house.
Yeah. What that little fucking 38 special he's got.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Caused some damage.
yeah.
Yeah, he did. Chris sees more slugs slither down into the basement of the house. And Cindy lists off what's down there and then remembers the brain from the bio class. Or the brains from the bio class. Chris and Cindy creep towards the basement while he demands people leave the house. Like, he is like, get out of the house. Get out of the house. Get out of the house. Type of, like, just really just kind of hot, actually. It's kind of a little... Down in the basement, they find Cameron, mouth taped over, and a can of gas. As soon as Cameron removes the tape, a slug jumps towards him, but he's able to catch it. He's quick with it.
Yeah, he is.
The detective begins to count down from 20 as he splashes the basement with gas, and Chris leaves the flamethrower behind. Chris continues the countdown as he and Cindy escape the house. They wait with everyone else. Right before the place blows, Chris says, "Detective, thrill me," borrowing Cameron's phrase. The basement explodes, killing the slugs and Detective Cameron.
Yeah, poor Cameron.
Chris and Cindy kiss as the house burns down. A few blocks down, a crispy and smoking Cameron walks the street, then falls over, releasing a litter of slugs into the Crest Ridge Cemetery. We get a view of the cemetery and see a bright searchlight flash and search the area as the large alien spaceship flies over the cemetery. And that's the end of this one.
Yep.
There is an alternate theatrical ending to the movie where the infected zombie dog approaches Cindy, and as she bends down, a slug flies from the dog's mouth towards her.
I mean, I don't know. I liked our ending better, just because.
I like the happier ending. Kind of happier.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of corpses in the graveyard. In the cemetery.
Yeah.
That's not great news.
No. I mean, it definitely opens it up for a sequel.
So there are like two, I guess, qualified sequels. One of them is Night of the Creeps 2, but it's like set in Germany, I think is what I read. And there was another one, I can't remember the name of it, actually, at this moment. I should have written it down. I don't know why I didn't. Let's get into the nerdy shit, because this movie has so many references, and it's just a lot of nerdy things. The 1986 film Night of Creeps was written and directed by Fred Dekker,
I think.
Making it his directorial debut. The film is a blend of sci-fi, horror, and comedy, paying homage to 1950s B-movies while integrating contemporary 1980s themes. Fred Dekker wrote the script in about a week. He aimed to combine several classic horror tropes, including alien parasites, zombies, college life, just into this single narrative. The film was intended to be a love letter to all the genres that he admired. So when you were saying that this is like this, and this is like Killer Clowns, and this is like Critters, it's because he took all those elements and just pushed them into one movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it beautiful.
Yeah, he did a great job.
Yes. It's not over the top. It's not, the acting isn't dull. Everyone's lines are delivered really well. You could tell that these people were actually actors, and there was no moments where I went, ugh, this movie kind of sucks, or oof, that one-liner was, ugh. You know, it flows very well. It's got a good balance.
Yep.
So they turned an old department store into a studio to film in. The movie also includes some shots from UCLA. It was not a commercial success upon release, only earning about $591,366 at the box office. However, it's developed a cult following over the years due to its humor, genre mashup, and nostalgic appeal, obviously. So Jason Lively played Chris Romero. Steve Marshall played James Cooper or J.C. Hooper. Tom Atkins was Detective Ray Cameron, and Jill Whitlow was Cynthia Cronenberg. All the last names of the main characters are based off of famous horror and sci-fi directors. Did you ever catch that?
No. Uh-uh.
So you have George A. Romero, obviously, John Carpenter and Tobe Hooper, David Cronenberg, and James Cameron. When JC is stuck in the bathroom stall, there's different things graffitied on the walls, like Go Monster Squad, referencing Derek's 1987 movie, The Monster Squad. Have you ever seen Monster Squad?
I don't think so.
We're gonna watch Monster Squad, apparently, at one point. Another graffiti reads Striper Rules, in reference to the makeup artist Kyle Sweet's relationship with future husband Michael Sweet, the frontman from the band Striper.
Interesting.
Striper was this like Christian metal band, apparently. At the start of the movie, in the sorority house, Pam's roommate is on the phone with a friend and asks if she's seen Plan 9 from Outer Space, which is a 1957 movie. It's a cult classic written and directed by Edward D. Wood Jr. Later in the film, in 1986, the house mother is seen watching the same movie on TV. Yee.
Nice.
And just a few more quirky things before we wrap up. The Corman Clarion, the newspaper for the university, and the university name are both nods to legendary filmmaker Roger Corman. The college football team was named after Decker's high school football team, the Bulldogs.
Interesting.
The mothership model was later used in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Fred Decker's roommate, Shane Black, contributed to the script for Night of the Creeps. Black also made a brief cameo in the scene at the police station, appearing alongside the cops on the phone with Detective Ray Cameron. The following year, Tom Atkins appeared in Lethal Weapon, 1987, which was Black's first produced screenplay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, just little running around.
Nice.
So that is Night of the Creeps. It's a 9 out of 10 for me. It's a movie I will continue to watch throughout my life. And like I said, it's a comfort movie for me now. It's really just a good movie. It really is. It's a nice, kind of goofy horror movie that just, I don't know, resonates with me.
Right. I would say I would give it like probably an 8. An 8 out of 10. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. That's good.
I don't remember what I gave Killer Clowns, but it's up there. It's definitely up there. It had a lot of the things that I really like in the B horror genre. So
I think Decker loves that. He really put his love for that genre into this movie. Like, he knew what made a B movie and he knew what didn't make a B movie. You know, he subtracted those little things that kind of can rub you the wrong way when you're watching that type of movie, and just took all the good stuff and wrote an amazing script. The script is amazing.
Yeah.
And also, you know, having Tom Atkins deliver those lines, it was perfect. It was great. He did a great job.
I mean, I could not think of anybody else delivering those lines the way he did. You know, because it gave it the right amount of you know, campiness, like comedy or comedic relief that the movie needed.
Yeah.
You know, so
definitely.
Overall, yeah, it's definitely a movie I would come back to for sure.
And I like the focus around the characters versus the focus of like the swamp, the slugs and the zombies, you know?
Yeah.
I like that.
Which, I mean, we kind of saw the same thing in Critters, where the focus was on the family and stuff and not necessarily on the creatures themselves.
Well, with Critters, they did have moments where it was focused on the critters and where they would talk to each other and stuff.
True.
Yeah.
True. But those were also like comedic reliefs too when they were talking to each other and stuff. So,
true.
But yeah, I mean, they have their own niches for sure when it comes to their cult followings and stuff.
Yes, very much so.
So.
Yep.
But yeah, we hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, if you did, make sure to leave a review, comment, wherever you are listening to this at.
Mm-hmm.
We also are proud to be partnered with Dubby Energy. You can use our code Made Him Watch for 10% off your orders.
Mm-hmm.
You can
We're
find
a
us.
sponsor.
Yeah. Yeah, we're big name now.
Oh yeah, totally.
But you can find us on Spotify, YouTube, anywhere you get your podcasts. You can reach out and connect with us at Facebook, Instagram. I'm getting ready to make an account on Blue Sky also.
Yeah, we're getting off Twitter. I've already deactivated my account on Twitter.
Yeah, we're going to be leaving Twitter here shortly. And what else? TikTok, as long as TikTok is around. I know I need to get back on there and start making more content. So, but yeah, that about wraps things up here.
Yep.
So, make sure to check out the rest of our episodes. Stay tuned for more. What do we have next week?
Oh crap. I can't remember off the top of my head right now.
Another fantastic movie.
Oh, of course. Yes. Yes, it's gonna be. Oh. So next week begins December. So we're actually going to be doing a lot of holiday horrors. And I think it is Silent Night, Black Night, or something along the lines of that. It's something like that. So yeah, we're gonna be doing some holiday horror, some Christmas horror.
Yeah. We'll also hopefully we'll be doing a intermissions episode on Terrifier 3.
We gotta do it eventually.
Which, if you don't know yet, is a Christmas
movie. Technically, it is a Christmas movie.
So,
you're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. It is a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It was a great movie. If you have not seen it yet, I highly advise you get to watching it wherever you can.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. All right. Well,
all right.
As always, stay spooky.
Bye.